Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Srimad Bhagavad-gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Chapter 9, Text 13. Okay, so you can do all the chanting and keep it going and read the verse and the purport and everything.
Mahatma nastu mam partha.
Mahatma nastu mam partha.
Daivim prakriti mashritaha.
Daivim prakriti mashritaha.
Bhajantyānanya manaso Gyatva bhūtārimāvyayam.
The word Mahatma means a great person. Within Indian culture, this term has always been applied to spiritually advanced people. In other cultures, great people in history are considered to be politicians, military generals, so that gives some indication of the focus of Indian culture. When we say a great person, doesn't mean the body is great, or his bank account is great, or his political power is great, but that his consciousness is elevated. Of course, he may have elevated consciousness and also a big body and riches and so on. Many Rajarshis are described in Srimad Bhagavatam. Rajarshi means one who's a king and at the same time spiritually advanced. But Mahatma, he may be in many ways, to ordinary vision, an ordinary person. Earlier in Bhagavad-gita, Arjuna asked Krishna, Sthita pragyasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava Sthita dhi king prabhasheta kim asita vrajeta kim. He asked Krishna about a person who is fixed in consciousness. How does he talk? Sthita pragyasya ka bhasha. How is he fixed in samadhi, in spiritual consciousness? What does he say to others? How does he sit? How is he situated in this world? How does he move here and there? So the answer is that not that he sits, walks, talks, passes stool, gets sick differently to other people, but as Krishna describes, his senses are withdrawn from the sensual objects. Prajahati I don't remember. Here in this verse, Mahatmanas tumang parata, Krishna describes the topmost transcendentalist, one who is living in this material world, but who is sheltered by Krishna's internal energy. So, although he may in many ways appear to be like an ordinary person, he is the most special of all special people. Tara Bhaka Kriya Mudra Bigehana Bhujai. In Chaitanya Charitamrita it's described that a great devotee of Krishna cannot be understood by materialistic people. Even if one is very learned. Learned in the Vedic culture, that means specifically in Vedic knowledge. In the modern age, that we may think someone who is qualified to understand someone else if they study psychology. But all these methods of knowledge, they cannot help us to understand the words, the activities, and the intentions of a pure devotee. So from the platform of material consciousness, it is not possible to understand a person on the platform of spiritual consciousness. Those of you who have studied the songs of Bhaktivinoda Thakur will find that they are full of intense feeling. Sometimes he expresses great happiness. Atmanivedantua pade kari hoino paramashuki. For instance, he says that addressing Krishna, that having surrendered my whole being to yourself, to your lotus feet, I've become topmost happy. In other songs he will express apparent great distress. Ebe shunu Prabhu, ami goti hi. Now here, my Lord, I'm directionless, I'm hopeless. So some mundane scholar who made a PhD thesis on Bhaktivinoda Thakur suggested that he had this manic depression or bipolar disorder, by which sometimes you feel very elated and sometimes you feel very distressed. Hopelessly wrong speculation. So the devotees, they cannot be understood by non-devotees. And even the consciousness of a very highly elevated Vaishnava can hardly be understood by the devotees who are just on the threshold of the house of devotion. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, to external appearances, was a magistrate, but actually he's not of this world at all. As he revealed his own identity, what is that? Amito. I just forgot now. He revealed his identity as a servant of Srimati Radha. Amito Radha Pakapati Sada. Yeah. So, of course, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was to external appearances, a very dignified, aristocratic Bengali gentleman. But there may be some great devotees who they may appear to be vagabonds. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he would offer respect to Vangshi Das Babaji, who Vangshi Das to external appearances appeared to be just like that, some vagabond. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur could recognize that in the personality of Vangshi Das, despite his rough exterior, internally his heart is melting in love of Krishna. So various external symptoms or observable symptoms of the great devotees are given in Shastra. Kshanti, he tolerates all material conditions. And Kshanti, then Avyartha Kalatvam, he doesn't waste time, he is always engaged in Krishna service. Manada, Manashunyata, he offers respects to others, he doesn't desire respect for himself. So these symptoms are given by which he's understood to be a Mahatma. He's the topmost person. How much people in this world desire to be recognized as superior to others. They may go through many difficulties and practice hard in some sport just so they can get some medal and be known as the fastest runner in the race. There are organizations throughout the world, Rotary Club, Lions Club. They're organizations of people who basically come together to praise each other. There is no sound more sweet to the materialist than the sound of himself being praised. And therefore there is the phenomenon of sycophantism. Do you know the word sycophant? It means flatterer. Someone flatters someone else who's in a higher position just to get some facility from that person. It's not sincere, it's done for some personal purpose. So a person who is desirous of praise like that is as foolish as the person who praises him, or maybe more foolish. But a Mahatma, a great devotee, he's not eager to be recognized by others. In fact, sarvotam apanake hina koremani. Even though he is topmost of all, he thinks himself the lowest. Sarvotam apanake hina koremani. This astonishing characteristic that he actually thinks he's the lowest. Once in Sweden, in a Uppsala University, Srila Prabhupada gave a lecture on the Varnashram system. in which he spoke about first-class men, second-class men, third-class men, fourth-class men, and lower. This in Sweden, the socialistic consciousness is extremely deeply ingrained. So the idea that everyone is equal. So Srila Prabhupada speaking like this is almost certain to draw some protest. And it did. So after the lecture, someone sarcastically asked Srila Prabhupada, "So you think you're the first-class man?" And Srila Prabhupada immediately responded, "No, I am the lowest because I am the servant of all." When someone responds immediately like that, you can understand they haven't stopped to make some mental calculation. It comes directly from the heart. So someone who's in the topmost position, he doesn't go around advertising himself. Hello everybody, I just like everyone to know that I'm a Paramahamsa. I mean, I'm not proud about it, but he doesn't think I'm a Paramahamsa. He thinks I'm the lowest. The Mayavadis, they make so much effort to overcome the ego. They say you have to stop the ego, kill the ego, stamp it out. They think like that because they think that the only way we can think is to think I'm great, so just kill the ego. But a devotee doesn't try to kill the ego, but he purifies it by understanding that I am the servant, Gopi Bharatur, Padakamalaya, Dasu Dasanudas, I'm the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna, who is the maintainer of the gopis. So he sees that everyone else is someone for him to serve. I'm the lowest because I have to serve everyone else. He thinks like that. He actually thinks like that. Just like Srila Prabhupada did, saying that I am the lowest because I'm the servant of all. So even though he considers himself to be the lowest, actually his faith and his absorption in Krishna consciousness is immense. Therefore he's called a Mahatma. Generally this idea of in conventional language in India, Mahatma means someone who was given up the world and lives without any possessions. So it's understood that it's not that someone who amasses huge amounts of money, he's a great person in one way. Yes. But a truly great person is someone who can live without desire for such things. But the greatest quality, or what really makes a devotee great, is not just his detachment from this world. He has nothing of this world. He is called akinchana, one who kincha means something. He is without something. He has nothing of this world. Krishna is described as akinchana vitta, the property of those who have nothing to desire for. No, they desire nothing in this world. So a devotee, we're talking about the topmost devotees, so they can give Krishna. Krishna she toma, Krishna dite paro, tomara shakati ache. Bhaktivinoda Thakur prays to the Vaishnava that Krishna is yours. You can give Krishna. You have the power to give Krishna. On the other hand, if one offends a great devotee, then even if one is Krishna conscious, then one's Krishna will go away from that person. So a Mahatma can give Krishna and take Krishna. But his general tendency is to want to give Krishna to everyone. That is his mercy. He's merciful to everyone. This Stita Pragyasya Kaba. What is the specialty of a spiritualized person? How does he walk, talk, move, eat? Well, in many ways like everyone else, but his whole consciousness is completely permeated by love for Krishna. He is like a puppet of Krishna. He acts according to Krishna's desire. He goes here, goes somewhere else, everything according to Krishna's desire. It doesn't mean that he becomes like a robot, because everyone has their own, Krishna gives everyone minute independence. But a devotee consciously surrenders his whole being to be an instrument in fulfilling Krishna's desire. So because Krishna is very pleasing and sweet, then the pure devotee is also very pleasing and sweet. Of course, as required, Krishna can also be harsh for the benefit of others. So the pure devotee may also speak apparently harshly, but for the benefit of others. But whatever he says or does, whether apparently sweet or sour, it's all connected with Krishna. It's all infused with the energy of Krishna. Daiving prakritim ashritaha. He knows, the pure devotee knows that Krishna is present in everyone's heart. And he knows that everyone is meant for loving Krishna. So he always acts in a way to try to awaken others Krishna's consciousness. And thus he studies Shastra to explain the science of Krishna to others. And all doubts that might arise in the conditioned souls or the aspiring devotees, he can resolve that by speaking on the basis of scriptures. Shastra yuktye sunipun drirashada ja uttamadhikari shaitareye shangsha. The topmost devotee is described as expert in the deliberation of the scriptures and can resolve and harmonize all apparent contradictions in scripture. His firm faith in Krishna. So such a topmost devotee can deliver the whole universe. Pure devotee, he is merciful to all, but he especially takes pleasure in being with devotees. And he likes to be with devotees because devotees like to remember Krishna. Some of the remarkable qualities of the pure devotees are described by Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati in his Chaitanya Chandramrita. He describes some of the aspects of the consciousness of someone who has received the merciful glance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Kaivalyam narakayate. What is that? Kaivalyam narakayate tridasha pur akasha pushpayate vidhi durdantendriya kala sarapa prodkata patali prodkata dangstrayate vidhi mahendra dischakitayate vishvam purna sukhayate yat karunya vaibhavatam gaurameva yat karunya kataksha vaibhavatam tam gaurameva stuma. So that impersonal liberation which the yogis and gyanis aspire for with great difficulty over many lifetimes, he thinks it's just like hell, because therein there is no opportunity to serve Krishna. So even though an impersonalist may sometimes be referred to as a Mahatma, but the devotee Mahatma is so much greater person than the non-devotee Mahatma. Kaivalyam narakayate tridasha pura akasha pushpayate. Materialistic people, they aspire to go to the heavenly planets, either by in the Vedic culture, by performing Vedic sacrifices and other pious activities. Similarly, Christians aspire to go to heaven, and Muslims to Jannat. But the pure devotee thinks it's just like it's phantasmagoria, meaningless, just like a flower growing in the sky. Flowers don't grow in the sky. So the promise of heavenly delights to a devotee, it just seems like completely absurd. Durtan tendriya kala sarapa patali prodkayate prodkata dangstrayate. This senses which are very difficult to control. The senses are very difficult to control. It may seem like a dangerous snake that is always ready to bite us. But a pure devotee, he doesn't feel any sensual attraction, any desire to enjoy this material world. So for him, the senses are like the snake with the poison fangs removed. He feels no danger from them. Then, although this material world is constitutionally full of distress, but he sees Vishvam purna sukhayate. He sees the whole world as blissful because he always remembers Krishna. And vidhi mahendra dischakitayate. What to speak of great people of this world like Obama and Putin, he sees even the great demigods, the position of Brahma, the position of Indra as being no more important than that of an insect. So this is exalted consciousness. This is the exalted consciousness of a pure devotee. There's no motive to exploit others. There's no deception. He's not pretending, putting on some show of being something that he's not. He is Krishna Kripa Srimurti, his divine grace. He is the manifestation of Krishna's mercy in this world. Even though he may be a topmost devotee, he acts as he follows all the rules and regulations of devotional service, just to set a good example for others. And a devotee whose heart is filled with pure love of Krishna, but he may chant his rounds and follow the basic activities of devotional service. So these, especially the level of devotional service offered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so high, following in the footsteps of the gopis of Vrindavan. It's extremely exalted. Even great Vedic philosophers and even great devotees who are aiming for Vaikuntha, they cannot comprehend what a high goal this is. Such is the exalted position of the pure devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Brahmanda Tarite Shakti Dhare Jane Jane. Every one of the great devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has the power to deliver the whole universe. That particular mission to deliver the whole world to Krishna consciousness was particularly invested in our most worshipable Srila Prabhupada, who in one purport in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita has requested all the members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness to become pure devotees, so that by their association they may deliver others also to pure devotional service. So everyone who has been fortunate to receive the mercy of Srila Prabhupada should take that mercy fully and become fully serious about becoming fully situated in Krishna consciousness, so that they can benefit others by transmitting to others the gifts that they have received in parampara. Everyone who comes to Krishna consciousness is supposed to become a Mahatma. Srila Prabhupada often said that, well, it's not just meant for me, it's meant for everyone. Of course, Srila Prabhupada was a highly empowered devotee of Krishna. But one aspect of his empowerment was he showed how everyone can be a pure devotee, how everyone can be absorbed in Krishna thought. So when we read these descriptions of the pure devotees, or we hear these descriptions, we want to glorify the great devotees who are the personifications of such descriptions. That is also the ideal that we are ourselves to pursue. And how will we know when we're on the topmost platform? Well, we won't. Sarvotam apanake hin kare mane. The topmost devotee thinks he's the most fallen. That's Krishna's Yogamaya potency. By Krishna's Mahamaya, his external bewildering potency, someone who has no qualities thinks he's the greatest. And by his internal potency, Mahatma nastu mang partha daiving prakritim ashritaha, the topmost devotee thinks, I am the lowest. So this is desirable, this position of devotion. Everything in this world, all together, put together, is not everything possible to achieve in this world is of no consequence. If we were to have overlordship of everything in this world, what is that? Nothing. The opportunity to say Hare Krishna even once is worth more than everything in the whole world. That is the vision of a devotee, and that is actually a fact. Mahatma nastu mang partha daiving prakritim ashritaha bhajantyananda manaso gyatva bhutadim avyayam. The great souls, Mahatma, Krishna tells Partha, Arjuna, who himself is a great soul, Mahatma. So the great souls, they're under the shelter of my divine energy, Krishna's internal potency. They worship me with single-pointed consciousness, knowing me to be the origin of all living beings and inexhaustible. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, who has given us this great gift of Krishna consciousness and given us the possibility and the hope and the method of attaining pure devotional service. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions for us?
Regarding qualification of guru, and one should have proper qualification.
Yeah. I guess it's well, it's in relation with this class.
Well, it's about
a little bit, of course. So, are there any questions related to this?
Часто преданные говорят, я слышал это выражение среди истории, связанных со Шрилой Прабхупадой, и среди нашего современного общества, когда преданные декламируют, что я самый падший, а в действительности они не соответствуют тому уровню, который вы писали в лекции. Как отличить чувство самого падшего от настоящего осознания себя падшим?
Sometimes devotees may claim that they are the lowest or the most fallen, but actually they're not, they're just pretending, promoting themselves.
Yeah, that can be.
How to really differentiate between the position of those who really think themselves fallen and those who pose as the most fallen.
False humility. I am the most fallen. No, you're not. I'm the most fallen. I'm the most fallen.
Yeah.
No, I'm the most. Well, there are other symptoms also. It's not just going around and claiming oneself to be the most fallen that one is actually advanced. Someone who wants to be recognized as advanced and who knows that an advanced devotee thinks himself fallen, may pose himself to be humble. Yeah, so, how can we know? Well, if we ourselves are really seeking the essence, then we won't be misled by play actors. If we want to be cheated, Krishna will give us the consciousness by which we will be misled by others. If we're actually sargrahi, seeking the truth, then we will be able to distinguish between who is real and who is just making a show. All right, then ask these questions.
The first question is, by looking inside one's own heart, one can find a lot of anarthas and material attachments. How in this situation, in these circumstances, to fulfill instruction of Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya, to preach to everyone about Krishna, at the same time not to be duplicitous?
If we have faith in the teachings of Bhagavad-gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, then we will follow those teachings, and in our faithful following, we will also there will be some power in our preaching of them. Full perfection may not come immediately, but to the extent that we have faith in those teachings, we become qualified to impart them to others. And it's the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to communicate that to others. So in an emergency, then the reserve troops may be called in. When the best troops are not available, then we may have to use in a battle situation, we may have to call on the reserve troops. The material world is a constant emergency of lack of Krishna consciousness. So whoever can take part in this preaching, if they're not doing it to promote their own name, fame, or to gain money or for some ulterior motive, they can be empowered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to impart Krishna consciousness to us. And when we distribute Srila Prabhupada's books, we give the whole truth, the complete delineation of the absolute truth. So this is a very powerful method of communicating Krishna to others by giving Srila Prabhupada's books.
Sometimes devotees start to evaluate preachers. For example, I hear them say the temple is diseased with pride. We shouldn't listen to them, but we should cure them. It's a very tangible statement, because other devotees may admire lectures and the atmosphere in the temple. Should we stop giving lectures, hold Sunday programs and distribute Srila Prabhupada's books until or unless we are free from material contamination?
Well, I think that question is already answered in the first answer to the first one. We may not be completely pure, but if we're sincere, then we can communicate Krishna consciousness to others. There's in Srila Prabhupada's conversations, there's one devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, they gave this proposition: first we should become pure, and then we should preach. And Srila Prabhupada said, then you'll never preach. The devotee never thinks, now I'm pure.
Потому что преданные думают, что никогда не будут нечистые. Эти я нечистые.
Попробуйте выключать эту розетку, там где-то контакт пропал.
Нет, там сейчас выключили, там отключили микрофон. Это выключил.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
A devotee never thinks I'm pure, but rather by preaching we become purified. This Jare Deko Tare Koha verse, there's another verse following that, which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says to the Brahmana who wanted to go with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no, you stay here and you preach. Taro Edesh, deliver this land. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu further said that Kabuna Badhibe Tomai E Bishoy Taranga Kunarapi E Thai Pabe Morashonga. He said, if you do this preaching, then you won't be disturbed by the waves of material existence. And you will meet me again here. In other words, the preaching itself is purifying. Of course, if preaching is done with some ulterior motive, then it's not purifying. So we should do that with all sincerity to benefit others.
The last question, connected with preachers. As a result of mentioned above attitude to senior Vaishnavas, devotees fall into Maya. What should be the mood of a devotee who sees faults in preachers, and what should he do to avoid committing offenses or apparatus that lead to fall down?
Well, it's a very general question. It's something like asking, what should a doctor do if a patient is diseased? I mean, there are so many different symptoms of different diseases. The treatment has to be according to the patient. One devotee in England who's a medical doctor told me that part of his training, of course he's a very senior doctor now, but part of his training is to it's psychological, to convince the patient that he needs to take the treatment. Because in many cases the patient is in denial. No, I'm fine, I don't need anything. So what to do if you see faults? Then you have to try to rectify as far as possible. If we are in a position to do so, we may not be able to do so. what is that saying? That prayer to God, that God give me the ability to rectify faults that I'm capable of rectifying, and the patience and tolerance to tolerate those things which I can't, it is not within my ability to rectify, and the wisdom to know the difference between the two.
Any more questions? Or? A lot of questions.
Speak loudly. The person furthest away from you can hear. Speak to that Mataji there. Don't speak to me. Is it Mataji?
Should we preach directly in the same way as Srila Prabhupada does, or it is a prerogative of our gurus, and we shouldn't try to
preach straightforwardly as Prabhupada?
Also try to correct some deviations from the direct Krishna consciousness that Srila Prabhupada presented.
Big topic. So big I wrote a whole book about it. For further information, please consult that book. But in general, we shouldn't think that, well, only Prabhupada can speak like that and we shouldn't speak like that, because that's not the order of Prabhupada. Anyway, it's a big topic with various nuances, which is why I wrote a whole book about it.
Because we have other desire for name and fame, and such desires are also sincere, and they may get mixed with sincere desires.
No, to have sincere means we only want to serve Krishna. Anything else cannot properly be defined as sincerity. Hitler sincerely desired to further the benefit of the German people, but that's not proper sincerity. So we may have a very strong desire for name, fame, glory and so on, but that's not sincerity. There's a difference between having a strong desire and having sincerity. Sincerity is pure, which means it's focused only on Krishna's pleasure. Everything else is a contamination. Anartha. Anartha. Hare Krishna. Well, if this lady has a question. That's all.
Now, the spiritual video market is very vast.
Spiritual video market. You can have spiritual life for only 500 rubles. Yeah.
So it's very vast, and now a lot of videos, devotion videos, now devotees watch Mahatma. Are these videos ecological for our Krishna consciousness? And then you can see that ecological means like harmless for our Krishna consciousness.
Well, dramas by non-devotees are not going to help us. That's why you should read Prabhupada's books, and then you'll get the answer yourself, where all these things are very clearly stated. But devotees are so busy watching Kami movies that they don't have time to read Prabhupada's books. Of course, Mahabharata made by Kamis is still better than some striptease show or something like that. But it's not going to have the same effect as dramas performed by devotees who are following the principles of Krishna consciousness. I don't know, is it a question or not?
It is a question. Вопрос?
Что Прабхупада просил нас вести аристократический образ жизни, и при всем при этом наша практика входит в сбор пожертвований Иногда брамачари собирают пожертвования на рынках, распространяют книги или просто просят пожертвования. И как правильно нам совместить этот аристократический образ жизни со сбором пожертвований? Вот вы хорошо поставили, как они
Aristocratic way of life, and what do? You club people on the head and take their money, or what? You can distribute books. What's low? You think that distributing books is something low class, or if you want to be aristocratic, I suggest that at least at the Sunday program you dress as a